Well, hello everybody, it's Christi Friesen again, and we are going to create. Are you ready? Because I sure am. We have been working through a series of polymer clay that is all about the little secret things that you can do with this material. Oh my goodness. So each time we've done one of these projects, we've learned something new. And today we're going to learn a new color blending technique, and we're going to get a little sculptural, and secret third thing, we're going to learn how to embed lines and add color to the lines. Oh my God, you're going to love it. All right, so we're making a starfish, and I'm going to give you some options on how to embed that starfish into a pendant background. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about resin and putting in a clear background, but I'm not going to show you how because we've got other videos for that. When you go to the teaching learning section here at Fire Mountain, you're going to find a plethora of projects, techniques, including beginning polymer and baking and all that stuff. So I know our time is limited. As a creator, you want to just jump in, make something, and get on with your day. And that's what these are all about, to jump in and have fun. So let's jump in. What we're going to create first is our fun little starfish. Oh my, I love making these starfish. All I did was take a little ball of clay. Now polymer clay comes in packages. You just rip off a chunk and mix it with other colors to get a color you like. I mixed some white and some light blue, or some white and some blue to get a light blue, and I put some granite in it, which is one of the primo colors, to get a bunch of little flakes in there because I like that, but you don't got to do that. All you need is just a ball about this big, and we're going to create a starfish by gently smushing it a little. Smushing is a technique I like a lot. So we flattened it a bit, and we're going to start pinching out the legs. Now when you pinch it out, you don't want to just go, because then you've got this weird smoshed thing that's not round. It doesn't look good. What you're going to do is pretend that you're an ice cream cone maker, and you're going to gently finesse that little ice cream cone out of the side by sort of twisting and pressing until you have a point. And of course, starfish have 5 of those. So you've got to make 5 coming out, which is really good until you get to the 5th leg, and then it's a little challenging, but you can do it. So what I'm doing now is I'm pinching the second one out. So now I have a little Hello Kitty, and now I'm going to pull the third one out. Pull and pinch. Kind of a little duck foot. That works. Let's get another one. We can do it. We can pull them out. Oh, good. Now we've got the 4th one. That's kind of a little Lisa Simpson going on there. And we have just enough for number 5. Sometimes number 5, you kind of have to yank it a little bit to get enough clay out, but it's there. Don't worry. So now you can go back and just adjust each one of those leggages to make sure that they're the proper length and width. If one of your legs gets out of control and it's way too long, just nip a little bit off. If one of them is too skinny, then just pull a little bit more clay out from the body and play with it until you get it just right. And this is what you should end up with. A fantastic starfish shape. Okay, so that's all very good, but what if we want to make all kinds of fun colors? Like, look at all this business going on. How did we do that? I'm so glad you asked, because I'd like to show you. I'm just using a needle tool. You could use a toothpick. You could use the power of your mind if you're so inclined, but most people are just going to take this little needle tool and draw some lines right down each leg. Now you notice how I'm holding this tool. It's almost flat against the surface of the clay. That's because I am embedding the detail in. I'm not scratching it on. You can scratch, but then it's scratchy, and I don't really like that look very much. So I'm going to now make a little bit of a circle of dots using the tip of my needle tool. How very fun is that? And if I can do one circle, I can do more circles. In fact, I can just go crazy, make dots all over the place. Starfish like dots. So I'm going to put a bunch more dots all around. Yeah, I like that. Now what about some little lines coming off the end, almost like a leaf or something, but just some fun little business. I'm going to take another little tool that's got a fun wedgie type blade, although you can use just about anything, and make some little lines coming off the end. All right, so now we've got a lot of details going on with our starfish. Now what? Okay, because it looks really fun like this, but it's not fancy, and you might want it to be fancy. So I'm going to take some chalk pastels. Now, we've talked about this in others of this series. So if you have not yet played with putting powders on, go check it out. In fact, in the description, you'll find links to things, including maybe where to find that little bit of information. So I'm going to take my tool, and what color do I feel? I think I want some sort of purplishness. This one would be good to be in the tip there, and maybe some dark blue over there, and maybe a little turquoise. Those seem like amusing colors to me. I'm going to take my paintbrush, and I'm just going to smash it into the area that gets the color. Oh, this is so much fun because I don't have to follow the lines. I never was one to color inside the lines. It just seemed like a great idea for other people, but I like to just go wherever I felt like. So today you get to let your inner child run a little wild and get all your powders in. So now I've got that all over the place. Don't worry, because we're going to be taking off the powders that are excessive. In fact, I'll scoop a little of that out of our way right now. Let's go to that darker purple that I had, and let's make a little of that right in the middle. And what about that turquoise? What about that turquoise? Let's just put that in there. All right, so now look what you've got. You've got a mess. That's exactly right. If at this stage of the game it looks like a mess, you've done it correctly. Because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take clear tape, just plain old Scotch tape style tape, and I'm going to rub it and lift it. And can you see what's happening? Look at that. It's just picking up all the excess and leaving it just in the cracks and the crevices, which is where I wanted it all along. Super easy. This is like antiquing. You remember back in the day where you just put the paint in and then wipe it off? That's a great technique and I love it. But this is the instant gratification version of that, which is my favorite type of gratification. So I think this will be really good. Now, if your piece looks muddy still, that means you haven't used enough tape. You've got to make sure you keep getting clean, fresh tape and take off any excessive bits so that you're stuck with a wonderful starfish like that. How great is that, right? Look at this. This guy is now ready to inhabit some kind of fun little world. Let's make some kind of fun little world, okay? There's a couple of things we can do. We can take a bezel and add just a bit of clay. I've shown you how to make a clay blend, which is super easy. You just take the bezel and you press it down, and then I'm going to get my tweezers in here so I can lift it back up again. And look at, you've already got like a little cut mark. And if you need to cut it some more to make sure it fits in there, use your blade. Just cut that. And I'm going to insert that right back into the bezel as a background for my starfish using just a tiny bit of this. This is a super glue called Polybonder that goes on polymer clay and lets things get stuck. We've talked about this one before. I love it. If you need more info, go back to the series and refresh on this particular glue. But I'm going to put a couple of dabs there. I'm going to lift off my background piece and shove it in. Don't worry if it's overlapping the spaces a little bit more than you want. We can trim away anything that sickens us. So let's get that all smashed in there. Oh, very good. That's looking great. And let's take our blade and get rid of the extra. And the nice thing about getting rid of the extra is if there are gaps, which inevitably there are, polymer clay, being the flexible thing that it is, can just get shoved up into the corners. This allows it to fill in completely without blobbing over the edges because that can look a little tacky. We don't want to look tacky on purpose. Well, on purpose maybe, but not accidentally. All right, so look at that. We've got that completely filled. I would just take this little guy, set him straight in there. You're done. You bake it, you put it on a string, you wear it, and then of course you're going to have to make about 20 of them for all your friends that love it so much. But I wanted to show you just an alternative way to create a background, which is fun and gives us another way of texturing, which is good to know. All right, you see all these colors that I've got? They're random leftover bits of the background color, some of the starfish color, some white, some blue. I'm going to shove all of these together, roll them in a wad and flatten it out a bit, and put this in my pasta machine. Now what comes out is a big mess, which is exactly what I want. I'm going to rip and put this all back together again. You see how I've got the edges showing? And I'm going to put that back in my pasta machine. And let's see what we have now. Oh my goodness, look at that craziness. Isn't that exciting? We're going to make a twisty blend out of this. What you need to make a twisty blend work is this mess. You need a bunch of different colors and you need a thumb. So if you have both of those things, you can do this technique. So what I'm going to do is move Starfish because I get a little wacky. I'm going to take my thumb and I'm just going to roll it on the surface and twist. Look at that. How fun is that, right? You can use both thumbs because that gives the twists in opposite directions, which is way more exciting. And the reason this works is because you've got more than one surface color that you are manipulating into an interesting pattern. Could this be your new favorite thing? I think it was mine. When I first figured out how to do this, I think I did this for about 10 days straight. All right, you see what we've got there? How cool is that? Now I could cut that and just drop it right straight into a pendant, just like I showed you. Or what I'm going to do is I'm going to freeform cut this out because, you know, this is an ocean thing, so freeform works. And then this will become the pendant shape that our starfish is going to live in. So let me get rid of that gunk right there. Okay. Take your scraps. We need those. Let's pick this baby up. Let's make sure we like our shape. Tuck away any kind of garbage bits, smooth it up, make it happy, decide what's up and down. I'm going to put this part up, then the starfish can live in this area that's kind of blank. And I'm going to take my leftover bits and just roll them, fold them and smush them a couple of times just to make them a little less stripy, and we're just going to make some wraparounds. We'll pop the starfish in and we'll be done. So all I've got to do now is make a little snake out of this thing. Whee! And then I'm going to flatten this snake with my finger. I want it to be irregular. If I wanted it to be perfect, I'd put it through the pasta machine and cut a strip, but I do not because I'm sort of mimicking a little ocean wave business happening, so having this be a little flaky and goofy works for me. All right, so now I've got this flattened strip, and all I'm going to do with this is just press it along the edge. Now you don't want this to be too tall because then it's going to get in the way of other things that are visually happening here, and it'll take over. But we're just going to flap it around, and you can do as much or as little of this as you want. But you see what it does is it gives the look of a nice sort of wavy ribbon, and it really ties in with this whole ocean thing. So I'm using my finger to kind of smush, make sure that it's grabbed along the side, and then I'm kind of folding it down a little bit to open it up so I can see that whole wavy action. If you want to add some little curly cues in there, because why wouldn't you want to do that, is flatten out another little bit, roll that up, easily peasily, tuck that in somewhere fun, and you can make as many of these little kind of wave backwater washes as you wish. So now the only thing that's left is to take our happy little starfish, tuck him in his new little environment. How sweet is that? Oh wait, how am I going to wear this? Let's tuck in a little loop for a pendant. I've got a piece of 20 gauge wire. Oh, you don't need much. I'm going to fold this over in half. When you fold it just like that, the wire folds beautifully, makes a perfect arch. If you get a bunch of tools involved, it can come or go and maybe good, maybe bad. So I just fold it in half and then go from there. I'm going to trim away the excess because I don't need all that business. So this is what I've got. And if you remember, we're going to put hook in there. Just because that hook helps hold it in place. You can do both sides if you want. I find that one is enough. Then I'm going to take just a little bit of my clay to make a little ball of it. Press that, stick my hook on top of it. So see, I've got the loop with the hook there, and I've got a little flattened bit of clay. And just going to lift up my backing, tuck that underneath in a position that seems to be the top, and press that back down. You want to make sure you get that press good because you're sandwiching the wire in between your two pieces of clay. Because of the hook, once it bakes and hardens, it won't be able to be pulled out. All right, so now we have a finished, happy, happy, happy little starfish. I just love how that looks. It looks good from all sides, which is how to tell if you've got this balanced. I think that is fantastic. So this gets baked and it will become this nice hardened piece of polymer that we love. If you want to add a bit of shine, we've talked about using our glaze and just adding that on the top of the baked clay. You can go back and refresh your memory, check in the description for links on which other ones of this series talks about that. So one last little thing I thought I would tell you about, if you remember, is that, let's move him so you can see what I'm talking about next. Come on, up you go. Bye-bye. This is an alternative way of playing with a starfish. You bake it completely, and then you can add resin to an open bezel. I'm just going to give you a little teaser because we're not going to talk about this, but if you had, like, look at how fancy that bezel is. Isn't that amazing? I've put it on a bit of, like, shipping tape, and then to this, we will add resin, UV resin, with our starfish embedded. It's easy and fun to do, and I have several videos, I believe, on using resin here at Fire Mountain in its learning section. So go check on that when you're ready to play into the whole resin world. But this is all about polymer clay. I don't want to get you too distracted before you've completely explored your polymer clay obsession. So just play with those starfish, create your background, put them in the bezels, whatever makes you happy. Okay, did you like that? If you did, give us a like. Do you have comments about how you did it and maybe something that worked a little differently for you or some cool starfish you did? Talk about it. Share it with your friends because they all want to know about how to make this too, right? And don't forget to hit that subscribe button because you do not want to miss a thing here at the Fire Mountain Gems and Beads Jewelry Making Studio. Happy creating.